Hi, I'm Gavriel Landau, and I'm the CEO and co-founder at Charm Impact. Now, today we're going to discuss how to increase employee satisfaction, improve your brand image, and position your company at the forefront of the most important challenges affecting our planet. This will translate into a higher perception of your brand's quality, increase the likelihood of attracting and retaining new clients, and help you to future-proof your business. Sounds too good to be true. But we're going to spend the next 10 minutes or so exploring how a sustainable strategy aligned to your business's competitive advantage can actually achieve all of these things and more. So, as a business trying to survive in challenging times, it's often pretty tempting to cut the nice to haves. And incorrectly, people often assume that CSR, and during this talk broadly, let's consider this term as a business doing good beyond the core of its business operations, is what that means. Now, I fundamentally want to start off this talk by saying that is a false assumption and actually self-defeating. So to cut the budget on sustainable practices within a business when times are tight has the exact sort of short-term thinking that can prohibit long-term growth. The world is changing, and whilst CSR or doing good used to be a nice to have, and having that sustainable strategy was a nice to have, it's now perceived as a central strategy that can have multiple benefits. So as an example, in preparing for this presentation, I asked 3 different senior staff members from different firms how their tender processes had actually changed over the last year. And the one common thread, aside from COVID, was a request to see the business's sustainable strategy and what it was doing to mitigate its negative footprint. We see this as a pervasive long-term trend that will be increasingly important and a big part of your intangible license to operate. So what we're going to do is discuss kind of the evolution of your sustainable strategy, what it's changed, not from your own, but in kind of the global context, how it makes a big difference to your brand quality and brand value, what that can do for the attraction and retention of both clients and employees, and then how we kind of look at moving from a world of just fitting in and just doing what's needed to actually standing out, really leading from the front. As a starting point, I think we need to really revamp that definition of what a sustainable strategy is and the outcomes it can achieve. Of course, we all want to do no harm, but that's what we used to do. And this goes beyond that to actively adjusting behaviors, processes, and ways of working, moving from do no harm to actively doing good. There was a time when CSR, and let's think about this term for a moment, because it's often just used as an acronym and ignored, and we often breeze over it, right? But it's actually, let's think about this for a moment. It's the social responsibility of a business. And that's quite a bold statement because it's what is that? What does that mean really? And it's going to be unique for you or I and for anyone running a business. But it's something that was nice to have and shout about an AGM. And the people that really shone were those that saw the commercial sense that can be created behind the implementation of an effective sustainable strategy. And it's time to transition our thinking from a mindset that this is a nice thing to do to doing it in such a way that makes commercial sense for my business whilst benefiting people and the planet. And that's actually, it goes hand in hand. There will be some companies that have sustainability integral to their strategic competitive advantage. And what I mean by that is their activity of doing good is directly linked to their bottom line. So, for example, at Charm, our business model is designed so that we make money from every loan we successfully fund. We only work with high impact projects that are supporting the mitigation of climate change. So as we make more money, we know that we're inherently doing good. Now, this isn't the case for a lot of brands. And so let's move on to looking at how your brand value and quality can be enhanced, where this isn't fundamentally structured as part of your business's bottom line. So let's take a step back for a moment because it's been a pretty tough year for everyone. And during times of recession, critics indicate that CSR may be an unaffordable luxury. I would argue on the contrary, and that a lot of research shows that managers may want to consider CSR activities and a sustainable strategy as a means of increasing the value of their brand, especially during economic recessions. You see, CSR initiatives during those recessions, they result in more favorable consumer perceptions of the brand. And engaging in CSR aligns both social and managerial interests, owing to the economic gains from those CSR investments. For example, we've seen a number of brands during the corona crisis that just went quiet. They had uncertainty within their business operations, as we all did, but rather than leading from the front and demonstrating their commitment, they shied away, hoping it would just breeze over quickly, and that when we all adjusted to the new normal, the phrase that we are all learning to hate, people would go back to thinking of them in the same way. And brand quality, if we think of it as a moment as the recognition of product quality, and that has a direct influence on consumer purchasing behavior. We're seeing increasingly across all sectors people changing their purchasing habits to have a more sustainable focus and actively caring about where their money is going. And a lot of research is now showing that people are even willing to pay a premium for products where they know that the brand aligns with their values. That's from the customer's perspective, but we also see this when we're looking at companies we select. Are they B Corp certified, for example? What is the ethos of their brand? And how does that align with my own? The fashion and beauty industry was no doubt hit hard with the coronavirus pandemic as an example, but even amidst their falling revenue numbers, there were a load of CEOs who we saw really stand out, put their spreadsheets aside, and find valuable ways to contribute during COVID-19 in some shape or form. This could have meant from making hand wash to fashion brands pivoting their production lines to making face masks for hospital workers. But this doesn't just show the world their commitment to doing more than what they did, but fundamentally, it makes your employees proud of the work that they do and the company they work for. And that increases their motivation and satisfaction at work, which is, a core concern for all of us as leaders within our respective industries. Now, what I want to do for a moment is look at a case study of Lego, right? This is a company we all know and love. And I want to go through a very short case study of how they pivoted their brand image to be one about sustainability. But I want to really unpick this with maybe a slightly cynical lens that says this wasn't only good for the world, but actually for them, it makes incredible commercial sense. So let's look at this, right? Lego is a brand we've all know, and they've managed to top Forbes' list of companies with the best CSR reputation. I think for the last 3 years, they've been in the top 3. Now, to earn first place, which they did in 2017, they had to show, and I'm just going to read a definition for a moment, they had to behave ethically, conduct business fairly, operate transparently, protect the environment, and support worthy causes. Their Build the Change event is a highlight of its social responsibility, an event where children and adults alike are invited to use Lego bricks to express themselves and communicate in different ways. The Lego Sustainable Materials Center aims to source entirely sustainable materials for Lego by 2030. The Lego Group communicates a great dedication to environmental and social causes, and the company says it lives up to 12 responsible business principles that set what's expected from its production sites, suppliers, and partners. And this covers topics such as ethics, people, children, and the environment. They also run regular audits to assess suppliers' performances on these principles. The Lego Group also has goals towards eliminating waste as it reviews the materials used in its products. And the company says it has a circular economy initiative to provide consumers the chance to pass on their Lego bricks that they don't use anymore to children in need. Also, with 100% energy emissions balanced with renewables and with other goals on topics such as diversity and inclusion, it looks like this Danish company tells an amazing story. But let's think about this. They still create toys for kids. They are creating Lego bricks, right? Their fundamental business has not changed at all. And yet they're saying they're going to invest $150 million over the next 15 years with that focus on addressing climate change and reducing waste. They're reducing their packaging, they're investing in those alternative energy sources, and plan to be 100% renewable by the end of last year. I'm not sure they've achieved that, but that was their original target. And that's quite an amazing achievement when we look at what the company is, who they are, and that ethos. And especially, I really love the fact that they hold not only their internal people to account, but also their suppliers and partners they work with. They all expect the same thing. But let's pause for a moment and think about Lego's customers. Who is buying Lego? Well, it's the majority of them are people who have kids, right? People or uncles, aunts, whatever it is, people you're buying them for children. You probably, I certainly do, have fond memories of playing with Lego, and you want to create that same experience for your kids. So let's assume Lego did the opposite. They promoted child labor, they used unethically sourced materials, and they created a huge carbon footprint. Well, not only are they damaging their own image, but actually their future customers' potential to exist, right? If we damage the planet to that extent, I am ruining the viability of having future customers, which is my kids and your kids and our kids of kids and so on. So it's not just about doing what's right, but it's actually self-preservation at the same time. So they're engaging customers, engaging people to buy their products, use their services, but creating that preservation for themselves to ensure that they have a customer base in the next 10, 15, 20, 50 years. So there's a huge amount of commercial sense that aligns with their values to protect their future customers whilst increasing the perception of their brand value. And what's more, the staff want to work there and they have an amazing talent ability to kind of attract top talent globally. So we can see that a direct sustainable strategy has actually overhauled their business. And this took years, right? This didn't happen overnight, but that they are future proofing their business and they are really at the forefront of this. So if we look at that as a great example and a shining example, we can see that CSR, sustainable strategies, doing good, can be an amazing tool to boost employee engagement. In fact, a net impact study proved that one of the most effective ways to foster employee engagement is to embed CSR into the culture of the company. And that's really amazing because we spend so much time talking about culture of a company, but actually, what do they care about? What is motivating your employees and the future workforce? So when we look at appreciation for socially responsible business practice, this continues to increase as we see millennials and Gen Z becoming the driving force of the economy. So the purchasing perspective of these two generations has really shifted consumer focus to socially responsibility, especially when it comes to the environment. According to a poll done in 2018, so a little bit older, but it said 85% of millennials and 80% of Gen Z rank the environment at the top of their list when deciding which companies they will engage with. And that was engaged from as a customer and as someone they wanted to work for. So if an organization isn't looking towards waste reduction, clean water programs, other environmentally friendly opportunities, they're missing out on an entire group of consumers who prefer to buy from socially responsible companies that aligns with their own values. And that translates to lost revenue for you and your business. Again, it comes back to that commercial sense. There's no limit to the power of that consumer pressure. And, we're seeing large traditional companies heed to consumer concerns. And even us at smaller companies, we see the real need to do that. And so what's our corporate responsibility, but what's our commercial sense? How do we integrate this sustainable strategy and ideology into our business, into every aspect of the business, whether it's supply chain, hiring, staff retention, staff engagement, all of these aspects you spend hours and hours agonizing over every week. And I think that having a successful, sustainable strategy can really sit at the heart of that and can actually achieve so many things. So this all sounds fantastic. And we can see how a sustainable strategy can help to increase our brand value, engage staff, and help us to win clients. The problem you're thinking now is, how do we do this? Well, the first thing is by getting a starting point and not only talking about a commitment to these values, but actually starting to demonstrate them. There's nothing more undermining than talking about them and not doing them. So I'll give you a personal example of something we offer at Charm. And this isn't going to be right for everyone, but it helps you to show you can start somewhere. So we help businesses to tailor a specific program that can align their CSR objectives where they relate to mitigating climate change through the projects we run. We ensure the whole company and team can get involved within that program and know exactly the impact they are having, where their money's going, who it's helping, how it's helping them. This allows you to measure, therefore, the combined impact you're having and tangibly demonstrate how you're making the world a better place. It also gives you some pretty good credentials and brand assets that you can share with your clients, future clients, and to your wider stakeholder community all at the same time. This will transition at a time from CSR being seen as just an add-on to business as usual, where it becomes fundamentally integrated now. That's the world we're moving into, fundamentally integrating this into the values and concepts of your business. And this should permeate every aspect of the business, from processes to supply chain to people. But don't be afraid. Look at that sustainable strategy as a journey. where joint efforts create a sustainable culture that benefits the companies, its employees, the people, and the planet. If you'd like any more information, my contact details are here. So it's Gavriel at charmimpact.com. I'm looking forward to having some questions. Thanks very much.